Okay.
Yeah. Where's Carly going?
Okay, and we are now live.
Okay, great. All right. Thanks everybody for joining. I'll bring the meeting to order. Can I have an approval of the agenda? Anybody have anything they want to add to it or any comments? No? Again, if I could ask you to speak out, because I can't see, it's hard to see everybody at once.
I'll move the acceptance of the agenda, Mr. Chairman. John follows.
Sorry, I was trying to reach my mute button. I'm just, I'd like to add the result of my meeting with Kylie Ann Schmidt of the Invasive Species program. So if I could add that maybe after the trail report or somewhere in there.
Okay, why don't we just add it at the end?
Perfect. Thank you.
Through you, Chair. Maureen, would that fit into our workday discussion at all?
Not really. It's separate from workday. Mhm.
Okay, any other additions?
Just for clarity, so Carly, are you going to move? We'll make Maureen's comments 8.5, and then items for next meeting will be 8.6. Just so we're all clear.
Yes, yes, thank you.
Perfect. Good stuff. Thank you.
Okay, great. So Mr. Fallis, do you want to reset the motion, please?
Yeah, I'll move that we accept the agenda as amended.
Seconder?
I'll second.
Okay, great. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Great. Thank you. Okay, minutes of our meeting held March 28th. Does anybody have any comments or potential edits to the minutes from Monday, March 28th meeting? If not, can I have a motion to approve?
I'll move to approve.
Okay, seconded
Hillary.
by Hillary. All in favor?
Yes.
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 Okay, thank you. All right, financial report, Ms. Hurley.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The report, right now we have two charges that have gone through. One is for Otonabee Region Conservation, of course, for the seedlings, and the other one was for the supplies. So the supplies was $455.06, and the second one for the seedlings was the $269. I apologize, $269.66. So a total of $724.72.
Okay.
I don't have
and
anything else at this time.
And sorry, what were those supplies for?
It doesn't say, Mr. Chairman, it just says supplies for Millbrook Valley Trail on the printout from the budget. It doesn't say the detail on this.
Okay.
For $455.06.
Is one of those saws that we talked about?
Yeah, I thought that do you have a date on that, Ms. Hurley?
It says February 22nd, 2022.
Okay, so there's been no charges other than the seedlings in the last month.
That's correct.
Okay, that's fine. Yeah, that's fine.
Yeah, the seedlings are March 9th, 2022.
Yes, that's correct. Yeah, those were approved at our last our last meeting. Okay.
So we can take a look if someone's questioning that, but I can bring it back to the next meeting, or I can check and then report back to you, Mr. Chairman.
No, that's fine. I'm confident. I was confused that those might have been new charges since our last meeting, but
No,
from February, that's fine.
that's correct.
Okay. Okay, any questions regarding the financial report? No, okay. Let's move on then. Carly, did you receive an update from Meredith other than her email?
Through you, Chair, just the email that Meredith sent to us.
Okay, so Meredith's not able to join us tonight. She has no update other than John Follis has kindly agreed to pick up the seedlings next week. Is that still the plan, John?
Yes, it is. I guess I'm not on mute after all.
Okay, great. Now, do you want to, are you going to be joining us for workday, John?
I plan to, yeah. I thought I
Okay, so
responded.
yeah, no, it's, yeah, sorry. I just wanted to check. You could keep the trees if you want, or if not, if you want to get them out, you're welcome to drop them off, or I can come pick them up.
Oh,
but we-
I can drop them off on the way home or else the next morning if that works.
yeah, whenever's
not-
easy for you.
yeah.
Whenever's easy for you. Okay, just so I'll have them here for workday.
Yeah.
Okay, great. Any questions around the org update then with the seedlings? No. Okay, trail report. Hillary and John. John, do you want to go first, or Hillary?
Yeah, sure. I don't mind jumping in. Everything's starting to thaw out nicely. Many of our trails are starting to get opened up and used and quite popular. There are still a number of muddy areas that I think are addressed on our work plan. I think we've kind of highlighted them on some of the things that Matthew, myself, and yourself, Rob, have put together. So I had a look at that, and Matthew's done a really good job summarizing it and outlining them. So nothing really new that I've noticed, but overall the trails are getting a lot of use, very popular, and mostly just some spring regular thawing and bubbling up of water in different areas. But overall, pretty good shape. I didn't really see anything that's not already listed on the work plan that needs to be addressed.
I'll jump in. Yeah, so it was really popular. I was there yesterday on the beautiful sunny day, and I did the entrance at the M&R, and so many people were out there fishing. So it was nice to see everyone out there. It's really, really muddy in some areas, and even though there's some of the trail closure signs, people still don't abide by that. There is a downed tree, kind of parallel to the rail bed on I always forget which Grand Trunk. So someone with a chainsaw at some point. My dog liked jumping over it, but for the average person, we should probably get that taken down. And everything else seemed okay. It's just, it's spring, muddy, and I don't know how to get people to not use trails if the signs are up as a trail closure. It's just kind of annoying that way. But everything else seemed okay, just that tree for sure. And again, just high usage in some of those really mucky areas that hopefully we can address on workday, even just putting some stone or something down like that.
Sorry, and Hillary, where was that tree on station adjacent to Grand Trunk?
No, so the rail bed,
Yeah.
and then it's kind of parallel to that on Grand Trunk. If I'm not mistaken. Let me just double check.
Okay. Okay, and all right, let's tackle that one first. John, we'll have the chainsaw for workday, but I don't know if you prefer using yours or wanted to bring yours.
I was wondering if I might even be able to get out before workday if
Okay.
I just can't promise when, but maybe on the weekend I could get out from, is it a huge tree or anything, or just,
It's a pretty big tree, yeah.
but it's
So
down so a person can work at it?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. I'll try to get over there before work day, but if not on work day.
I can go by tomorrow and get a picture of it and send it to you, John, so you know what you need to bring out there.
Okay, that'd be good.
Okay, and Hillary, you were saying gravel was needed where?
Maybe not gravel, but like patio stones, just around the pond, for Grand Trunk, just after the second pond. It's really mucky there.
Right. Okay.
And people are
Okay.
starting to divert into the trees to avoid that big muddy patch.
Yeah, we'll add it to the list. Okay, great. Does anyone have any questions, for John or Hillary, or anybody have anything to add, any observations or about the trails? No, okay. Well, we'll just certainly discuss the work plan here coming up. And so we'll probably get into each trail individually, going through that. All right, let's move on to general business. Millbrook MTB update, Mr. D'Agostino.
Sorry, there we go. Yes, okay, so we've got some club events starting up next month, and I wanted to just run them by everyone just to ensure that the committee is aware of them and approves of the trails being used in these ways. So well, I guess, and there's a couple other updates too. So we are waiting on our work permit from the M&R. They have essentially, this is for the 2 new beginner trails that we talked about on this committee a few years ago. The club's going to go ahead with that project, and we're just waiting on approval. So essentially the M&R has approved it at this point. We're just waiting on a 30-day First Nations consultation period where they did not expect any comment, and if that 30-day period expires, then the M&R will be satisfied that whichever First Nations they're consulting with has no comment. So I imagine that will be this week where we hopefully get that good news. And the 1 new trail has already been flagged. You can see pink flags in the forest in between Meadow Trail and Backstage Pass. And that would be a more beginner-friendly uphill climbing trail. And so we hope to start work on that as soon as possible. And if anyone wants to go out and take a look, I can take you out, or someone else from the club could take you out and could walk it together, or you're free to walk it on your own. The flags are easy to spot from either Meadow or Backstage Pass. So that's that. Hopefully I can let the committee know as soon as we do get approval for that, and then that way, again, if there's any desire for more involvement from the committee as we build those trails, then we can make sure that happens. In terms of events, we just have so the club has started up again for this season, the mountain bike club, and so we have some events beginning in May and then carrying through for the rest of the season until the end of September. But I just wanted to highlight a couple of these, make sure that there are no permits required with the township. And I think maybe that begins with making sure that the committee itself, or all of us, approve of these types of events. So we have 4 different types of, or 4 different events that are like instructor based. So we have a professional coach who comes in. Her company is called Mini Adventures, and she did some work with us last year, mostly based on the M&R property. And really, it's just you get groups of about 12 people that split up into 2 smaller groups of 6, and each group of 6 heads out with an instructor, and they just work on different mountain bike skills out on the trails. And so most of that will occur on the M&R property, but with the possibility of, Meadow Trail, like branching onto a township property onto Meadow Trail and possibly even Ganny Transit. Those are Monday nights beginning in May. So the 9th, the 16th, and the 30th. And in each case, it's about 12 people. There's also another event that the club itself will be running, which is more of a beginner bike clinic out on the trails. So just for more beginner oriented riders who just, need to not necessarily be out with a professional coach, but to have someone more advanced out showing them the trails and giving them some feedback and some ideas or ways to improve their skills out there. So none of these are race based at all. None of them are competitive. It's all just social stuff or trying to help people build their skills. Typically we expect 10 to 20 people. And so those are really the nature of the events that we're hosting out on the trails. The only other thing would be our weekly group rides, which will start up towards the end of May. And again, those won't have the instruction component. Those are just strictly social, just, getting people together so they can meet new friends and have other people to ride with. So essentially we're looking at Monday evenings, 5:30 to 8 o'clock for some of those instructional clinics. In May, another one that the club hosts is Saturday, the morning of Saturday, May 28th, 10 a.m. And then Tuesday and Wednesday evenings, really beginning at the end of May all the way through the end of September, we would hope to have the committee's blessing to use the trails for our social club rides. And some of those do extend into the Ganaraska, but they are Millbrook Valley Trail based. We will park at the M&R property and ride out from there. So that's the update. We hope to be, like I said, getting those going next month and just looking to bring it to everyone's attention and see if there's any thoughts or concerns or, like I said, permits required from the township end.
Okay, great. Thank you. Does anybody have any comments? No? Okay. All right. Well, thanks, Dave. Sounds great. Okay, 8.2. We
Sorry.
received a
Through you,
letter
Chair.
from the
Through
public.
you, Mr. Chairman.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Sorry, if the committee is in support of these events that are going on, then we should have a motion to show that the committee is in support.
Oh, okay. Would somebody like to make that motion?
I'll forward that motion.
Okay, John, a second.
I'll second it, Mr. Chairman. Oh, go ahead, Hillary.
No, it's all good.
Hillary, all right, Hillary. And sorry, Carly, just before we approve this, sorry, Cindy has her hand up.
I just have a quick question. Can we just include in that motion for the 2022-2023 season or whatever that looks like, just so that is clear for the insurance and it's also clear in the motion that it's just for this season. And each time we do this, I think that that's how, if the group agrees, that we approach this, that each year we come and have the motion of support so the committee knows when the events are and then everybody kind of knows what's going on. That's just my suggestion.
Sounds good. Do we need to get reapproval then of the original motion or just amend
As
the
long as
motion?
they're fine with it, you're fine.
Okay.
But I would just stick to 2022, if that would be my suggestion, Mr. Chairman.
Is it possible that we kind of have an outline of what Dave suggested with our regular events, and then if that changes, we need to reapprove it, as opposed to having to go through before the committee on an ongoing basis and keep putting more motions through?
Through you, all we're asking is support for this year. And I think it just makes it simple that the committee's in support of it for this year. And then it's only one motion. That's it.
Through you, Chair Jackson, to Mr. Frizzle as well as the committee, I think this is similar to the BIA. Each year they come before council, they ask for approval, we issue the insurance, and it's kind of the same process. We can get the insurance, the certificate will say it, we'll know what the list of events are, the committee will know. So that's kind of where my hat was, and that was what I was thinking as to why we have it for a seasonal discussion, that approval. Sunny?
So through you, Rob, I know our club has our own insurance to look after those things. So I'm not comfortable putting that motion through just on a seasonal basis, on a 1-year basis. If somebody else wants to do that, they can. I'd like to kind of have something that's a little more permanent or a little more ongoing rather than have to revisit it with a new trail committee, as that comes on board probably in 2023.
Can I ask why? Can I ask why we need a motion if the committee, if the Trails Club or the Millbrook mountain bike has their own insurance?
Ask
Question
David
for the
how
township?
to-
Oh, sorry, through you,
can
Mr. Chairman.
can-
I think it's just to show that your committee is in support. So you have a paper trail that you showing that the committee's in support of these events that are going on.
But
It's just a process. It's nothing more than you're giving permission for the bike club to utilize the Millbrook Valley Trails for these special events.
okay, but so then insurance doesn't need to be mentioned in the motion.
That wasn't our addition. That was right. But it's just we need it for transparency's sake. It doesn't really, and if there were to be insurance involved, it would help for the case and transparency that there were approved events. There couldn't be any question that they weren't sanctioned.
Exactly. It does not need to be included in the motion.
No.
It's just, I'm just explaining why we need the motion.
Right.
Yeah, you're right. Yes.
Okay. Mr. Falls, did you have a question?
Let's see. I guess I got my hand up and I'm not muted, so I'll try. No, I was going to say I would make the motion for this season, because I can see from the standpoint of insurance why it's better to approve it on a year-by-year basis, and I'm hoping that there won't be that big a change in the committee that it will become a problem for the other committee, the trail biking committee. But I can see why, from the township standpoint, we probably should just approve it for the season as opposed to making it a permanent thing. I think our insurance as a township could be different than what or might cover different things than what the trail bike committee's insurance would cover, and I can see the logic behind doing it on a year-by-year basis. So I'll make that motion if John's taking his motion away, I guess that's what I'm trying to say.
Any more discussion, or can I have a seconder?
I just briefly, I think we could revisit it earlier in the yearly agenda. I mean, we could even review it and reissue our okay in December, reflecting on the season, the spring, winter, fall, spring, summer, fall season. By then we'll have had plenty of feedback both from MBT and other trail users as to how it went, and we'll discuss how to improve it so that the MTB experience is better year on year, from our side and from the side of the MTB folks who are so helpful in maintaining those trails. So if you folks on MTB knew in December that your upcoming season was okayed, it would allow you to plan a lot earlier. Would that be better?
Yeah, Mr. Frizzle, how do you feel about that?
Well, my thoughts are that, I guess these are not really special events. This is just regular bike use. We're just kind of, as an information courtesy, giving, Dave's doing a great job giving an update of what we're doing. A special event, maybe a race or maybe any of those kind of things, but those trails have already been approved for cycling use. So I don't think it needs to be an ongoing motion on a yearly basis, that would need to be approved. That's my thoughts.
Okay. Anyone else?
Are these, just for clarification, and I haven't been on the trail committee for a long time, but are these not just special, are these not training events or special events that we're talking about? Like for certain periods of time on certain days?
Yeah. Yes, so, you know, we're talking about our weekly group ride as well as some special events, yes.
Yeah.
Mr. Follis, you have a comment? John, you have a comment?
No, actually, I should have lowered my hand, and
Okay.
I'm going with the original, like trying to support staff on that motion that we do it on a yearly basis. So
Okay, so John Follis has an outstanding motion on the table. Does anybody want to second that?
I'm fine with that. I don't know if I can second the motion. I
You
don't
can.
mind presenting this
You
every
can.
year. Maybe the only
Second,
thing,
yeah.
the only thing I was going to add was that the dates couldn't be specified in December because we're waiting on, you know, various schedules. But if it's really just, you know, we want to run our normal types of events, you know, the same as we did the year before, and we ask for approval for that every December, then, you know, that would totally be fine. If you needed more specifics on the dates and the times and where we're going to be and where we're going to park, then it needs to be a little closer to the season or within the season. But, you know, whatever we need to do, I'm happy to second that one.
I think if I may, through you, Mr. Chairman, I think we're just trying to state, like, we get a lot of questions. Township staff deal with a lot of calls when it comes to special events, whether people are coming outside the area, where are people parking, where's the entrance, where's the thing. So all we're doing is trying to say, yes, we're in support by a committee standpoint. Really nothing more than that.
Right.
It helps us understand when these events are. And we thank David for giving us the dates because we do get a lot of calls.
Yeah.
So we have a second of the motion. Any other discussion before I bring it to a vote? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Yes.
Okay, motion passed. Thank you. Okay, we're ready to move on to 8.2 then? Okay, so we received a letter from a member of the public. Mr. Graham, do you want to speak to this?
Yeah, so we did receive a letter and we're following the instructions in it to circulate it to the committee. So the letter has content pertains to municipal property and a municipal document. So we will have Ms. Hurley and her staff respond accordingly. But we're just fulfilling our obligation and the request to circulate it before the committee. So you will have all seen it in the agenda and they will be receiving a response from township staff. And that is the extent of my comment on the report.
Okay, anybody have any questions on that? No. Okay, then let's move on to 8.3, which is workday. 8.3.1, let's start with that. Hope Mill. Carly, I'm kind of confused about what this is.
Through you, Chair, at the last meeting, it was requested to specifically talk about Hope Mill, and because it was not identified on the current work plan, we just added it as an additional item so that you could have that discussion.
Okay,
I
refresh my
believe it
memory.
related to materials and supplies or cost of the materials if you were going to explore that project.
Okay, yeah, all right, thank you. Okay, well then probably makes sense to bring let's talk about the work plan first. So hopefully you've all seen my email. Most of you responded. So work day is planned for Saturday, May the 7th, from 9 a.m. till noon. Meeting as usual at the end of Distillery Street. John Frizzle, thank you very much for posting that on social media. And Maureen, thank you for printing off the posters and distributing them to local businesses. I'm going to send an email out tonight to our database of volunteers, just reminding them about the date. And Maureen, are you going to potentially put a couple of posters up at the key trailheads? Maybe.
Yeah, so, yeah, I just have to get them plasticized for weather, and I'll get them up tomorrow. And I've also started sending to guidance counselors at the high schools to post for volunteer hours.
I saw that. Thank you very much. Did you want to ask somebody on the committee, as per our earlier conversation today, about Facebook?
Oh, yes. Thanks for the reminder. John Frizzle, I wondered if it would be possible for you to post the poster on Millbrook Town Hoopla. It gets a lot of eyes on it that way, and there would be a lot of local high school students whose parents would see that.
Yeah, sure. I can share that. No problem. I've already done it through the BIA. So if you would like me to share it there as well, I can.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you.
Great. Thank you.
Through you, Mr. Chairman, I just was
Sorry,
raising my hand. Would you like us to also put that out on the township website and social media through the township? We're happy to do
Sure.
that if you'd like.
Sure, that would be great.
Okay. Carly, do you have a copy of it?
I do not. If someone's able to forward it to me, then that would be great.
Yeah, I can do that.
Thank you.
I'll do that right now. Okay. So we've got a work plan here. Some of you have sent in other suggestions, which we can sort of update now. But we've got the seedlings to plant. On Cedar Trail, we were going to try to address some of the flooded areas with some Big O installation. Same on Baxter Creek, some multiple drainage issues. We can get into the specifics on that in a minute. From Zion, boardwalk installations, grading of observation deck at the trout ponds, and Station Trail flooding issue, basically from the Chevrolet west, the abandoned car rather, westward. I counted up to 41 meters of boardwalk which is needed there, which is, or potentially needed there, which is 142 feet, which is, more than we could do obviously in a single workday. But again, it's all going to depend on how many people we have, the numbers and the people power and what we're able to accomplish. So I will have a comprehensive list the morning of, and we can certainly split it up. Just before I open it up, there's a couple other things that I've noted here that we can try to tackle, that I would like to try to tackle. I spoke to the roads department this morning, and they have agreed to drop off a big load of mulch at the entrance to the trailhead to Lower Meds, as we have in other years. But because we haven't done this for a number of years, that mulch has sort of disappeared. So we can certainly have people redistribute the mulch, hopefully up to the first bridge, as we have in the past. In the last couple of weeks, I've also been in contact with sort of the events coordinator at Centennial Place in Millbrook. And the residents at Centennial Place in Millbrook have very kindly, as a COVID-related project, built us 6 owl boxes and painted them, which they have dropped off to my house. And they would like us to install as part of our workday project. So I have assured them that we would do that. We can discuss locations for those, I think either tonight or on the day, but they have requested that a couple of them be located in somewhat accessible areas, because those that are able to from Centennial Place would like to come out at some point in the next few weeks when the weather's a bit nicer and maybe the trails aren't as muddy, to be able to see them up and see their efforts, rewarded by having them up in accessible spots. So certainly there's that. Maureen had mentioned that on the rail trail, the work that John Frizzle and your neighbor, John, whose name escapes me right now, last year did a very good job at putting some 6x6 in to stop the erosion above the bridge. It could probably use a bit more 6x6 and some gravel there, because it seems to be sort of eroding off to the side now. So I think if we sort of put some additional 6x6 and sort of dig it into the hill, that's another potential job. I've got the mulch, patios, and then the two jobs that Hillary mentioned, cutting down of the tree, which might get done prior to workday from John Follis's efforts, and then some potential patio stones or gravel on Grand Trunk. So I can open it up there in terms of what people think. If there's anything that we think is pressing, anything that we don't have, obviously, general boardwalk repair, etc. What do people think? Don't all speak at once.
Sounds like
That sounds. Oh, now we're all speaking at once. Sure. No, that's great. And Rob mentioned to me before about the owl boxes, and I think that's great. So as long as we just keep in mind that to whoever gets the honor of installing those, definitely a job I'd volunteer for, because I think that's really cool. And just document where they are and take some photos and ensure we send a thank you letter back to Centennial Place with those locations, and sort of assist them into viewing the ones that they can, but also sort of show them the ones that were out there. And then whenever we're doing those trail walks, if anyone were to see some activity, it'd be great to send them some photos of any activity at the boxes that they can't get to as well. So I think we've all probably seen those nature cameras that are running through 365, and we're probably not at that level yet with our little budget, but it'd be nice to send any photos that anyone takes and keep them updated on their contribution. So I think that's great.
I agree. I would just add to that. So I did a bit of research, and in terms of installing or placement of owl boxes, it's recommended to place the box 10 to 15 feet up in a tree. So obviously we're going to need some ladders for that. I've got quite a light aluminum, or what do they call, fiberglass 8-foot ladder that's quite carryable. So we could certainly use that if we identify different areas. But they say place the box 10 to 15 feet up in a tree. Yeah. Screech owls don't build nests inside the box, so make sure you scatter 2 to 3 inches of untreated wood shavings, such as those sold in rabbit bedding at pet stores, at the bottom, or fallen dried pine needles or leaves, which certainly there's enough of that around. I have sorry, go ahead.
I've seen ones with straw on the bottom as well, Rob, and I can easily get some straw if might be a year old, but if that's acceptable, you can do that if no one has the other.
Yeah, if you want to maybe bring a bag, a shopping bag or something full. I've got wood shavings here, but I don't know what they prefer. Like, I've got mostly cedar shavings right now, and maybe that's too pungent an aroma for them. I don't know. But yeah, whatever, certainly leaves and twigs will not be hard to come by.
I've got an extension ladder as well, Robert, that I'm happy to bring. It's nothing fancy. I was using it to clean my gutters this morning, so I'm sure it will work and maybe get up a little higher and a little more safely than the 8 feet ladder. So I'm happy to bring that with me.
Yeah, okay, that's fine. I'm sure I've got 3 or 4 of them here, so we can certainly make do. Does anybody have any initial thoughts on placement of these? Okay,
I think at least for one, I think the most accessible area would be somewhere in sight near meds, but not too deep into the foliage. So it can be like, there's certainly got to be at least one that can be as readily seen as possible, right? So I'm assuming on the way up Meds Mountain or somewhere where we can find something close to the, the grassy area where people can, the most people could potentially see it. It might not be the most owl popular, but it certainly can be seen at least.
Yeah, that's fine too. I thought maybe some of the sort of flat areas coming in from either side of Station Trail would be fairly accessible, especially from Centennial Place, right? Coming in the bottom of the hill there.
That's a great idea.
Okay, well, let's give some thought to that. As to that placement. Are there any broken boards that anybody knows of right now? Because in years past, I've always tried to have wood prepared. I can get it cut to the 4-foot lengths or whatever lengths is needed. So does anybody know of anything right now?
The ones I know of, I couldn't count them for you, but I'll go out to in the next couple of days to take pictures. Just from the floating bridge onward on Baxter Creek, there are just so many. That's where most of the work needs to be done. Everywhere else is pretty darn good, I think.
Yeah, well, that's I mean, that trail is still officially closed, so yeah, I mean,
there's one plank that's broken on Grand Trunk. I'm trying to remember exactly where, but
was it duckboard or boardwalk?
I think that one's right where Grand Trunk connects to the rail bed.
Yes, yes, it is. Yeah,
that main little bridge there.
Yeah, it's sort of like a little bridge, but not really.
Okay, but so they're 4-footers.
Yeah, I think it's just a little 4-footer guy. Okay. But yeah, it's just broken in half.
There was there's one more at the bottom of the Fairgrounds Hill, just as you come down from the Fairgrounds heading towards the bridge. The first little crossing there, I noticed the other day is broken.
Okay, all right. Well, I'll have a bunch of 8-footers and a bunch of 4-footers cut, and then we can obviously use our tools to whatever we need. So we still have we still have the gravel, the field stones, and the screening at the yard, all of which is accessible even with the construction that's currently taking place there. So if we need any of that, we can certainly get that before or on the day of. But we also have quite a bit of screening still in the ditch at the 4th line entrance, where we used it a year or two ago. So I'm just thinking for the placement of the patio stones on Grand Trunk or the additional screening / gravel. How far in is that, Hillary?
It's just after the second pond.
Okay, so we'd have to wheelbarrow it in.
Yeah, it's the going towards the trestle bridge.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Well, we'll have the opportunity to do again as much as we can based on the resources that come out on the day. Is there anybody from the group that is thinking they might not be able to make it on the day? Hillary?
I won't be able to. I have a funeral that day.
Okay. Okay. I know a lot of people have already asked me about it, so I'm hoping we'll have a fairly big turnout, considering we haven't been able to do it for, officially for a few years. So the plan is to still, I'm happy to still have a barbecue here at our house, 14 Distillery, from 12 on. I have to fly out of the country later that afternoon, so I'll need to wrap things up by probably 2 at the very latest to be able to get to the airport and make my flight. But I think my kids are gonna help out, and it should be just fine. everybody's still happy with, the whole burgers and sausage thing and the salads as per usual. That's what sort of I was thinking for an agenda and a menu. So that should be fine. Obviously, if it's awful rain, we've talked about the 14th as a rain date, but we've been fairly lucky over the last few years. So let's hope for the best. Certainly, the rain today didn't pan out, and it looks to be quite dry for the rest of the week. And I think hopefully that will help as well, just to get things ready for our potential work. Well, remember that I have those signs that we created last year that we can put up at the end of at the trailheads for those trails we're walking on to say that trail construction is in progress, because the last time we did this, we had a number of people sort of walking through, and that created a bit of a hassle at some time. So we'll be able to at least alert the public that that trail is going to be potentially under construction if they choose to go through it. Any other thoughts on workday or anything else we need? I'll have all the tools and stuff ready. I'm going to go out and buy some Big O, because we don't have too much left at the shed. And it's a good thing to have on hand anyway, but we've got our whole gamut of tools, and I'll make sure all the batteries are charged and all that good stuff. But any other thoughts?
Rob, is there anything tool wise or shovel wise or anything that you think you might need? You can just send me an email, let me know, and should be able to get most of it.
Yeah, I think if people just, we certainly got enough shovels and rakes and all that sort of stuff. I mean, those that are close, if they want to bring a wheelbarrow, the more wheelbarrows sort of help, especially with the moving of the mulch at the end of meds. I've got 2 here. I think we can grab another one from the shed. And I know Maureen usually bring one. We can probably grab one from Kirk's house. There's around, but if you have space, stuff like that, and there's lots of shovels. But if you can throw a shovel in, that's fine. Dave, if you want to bring your tools and all that sort of stuff, as you usually do as well, that's fine. It's just whatever people's judgments are, but we're usually more than fine the day of. Okay. And give some thought as well, guys, on the locations for planting. Maybe Maureen, I'll ask you to especially think of that in terms of where would be good to do that, and that could be a good job for maybe some of the younger folks if they show up.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think it'd be nice to get John Frizzle's opinion on that too, since he goes through the trails so often in all seasons. So just and it depends on how much of each type of tree we have. Yeah,
well, I've got I'll send you the breakdown.
Okay, thanks.
Because we did purchase a number of each. And so yeah, if you guys want to have a bit of a thought, and I'll certainly think as well. I noticed today I was actually out with some of the gentlemen from the township this morning. We walked meds and just about the remediation of the French drain that was installed a couple of years ago. So they are going to reseed and refertilize that and the berm that's taken sort of a particularly hard hit over the winter. And I think when they reseeded it last time, they did it in November, so it didn't all sort of take as it should. So they're going to handle that for us. But anyway, while I was walking around, the buffer zone from the pond to the creek, or to the park rather, is looking a little barren. And I know obviously we're not even into the first few weeks of spring yet, but prior to construction, we had quite a good buffer zone. So I think if we can keep sort of building that up through the years, that would probably be a good idea as well.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, any other thoughts or questions on workday?
Now, if we get lots of little kids or, younger kids, just picking up under the willow is always great for them, because it's, with all the
Yeah.
wind we had this year, it's been really bad.
Yeah, and just sort of general garbage pickup and that sort of thing too. Yeah, that would be good. And the fishing derby is going to be this Saturday. So depending on the turnout from there, there might be some garbage pickup that's required around the pond as well from as a result of that. Okay.
Through you, Chair
8.4
Jackson,
MV.
John Follis has his hand up. I'm not sure if you can see that.
I'm sorry, I couldn't see it, John. Go
Thank
ahead,
you,
Mr.
Mr.
Falls.
Yeah, actually, it's more to do with the work plan as opposed to the work day. So if there's further on the work day, but just before we sign out, I'd like to say a few words about the work plan.
Please.
And it just goes back to the reference to the Gani Transit potential extension and out to Glamorgan. And so since October, I've talked to Yvette, and there doesn't seem to be any legal restrictions on doing that extension out to, or adding it to, or recognizing it as part of our trail system if we chose to. There are some questions, I guess, because it's an unopened road allowance. It is used by farm equipment, maybe used by some off-road vehicles to access the Ganaraska forest, and so I guess it would make signage and that sort of thing a problem. We certainly couldn't put up our sign, no off-road vehicles or tractors or whatever. But I do think perhaps it warrants consideration. Like it was part of the master plan as a potential linkage to the Oak Ridges Trail, and if we did get to Glamorgan, then that technically would provide access to that trail. And there are people apparently who use Glamorgan to access the Victoria Rail Trail, which I think actually is now linking up to the Trans-Canada Trail. So perhaps next month we could discuss whether it'd be worth putting a sign at the end of Glamorgan pointing towards the access to the Gani Transit or something, and saying to Millbrook and via the Millbrook Valley Trail system, just in case there was people who were going up toward the Victoria Trail and who wanted to come in and spend the night in the bed and breakfast in Millbrook and then start out again the next day. So anyway, that's what I found out thus far, and some thoughts I've had since then. So just thought I'd touch base.
Okay, great. Any comments?
Dave, can I jump in?
Sure.
I just, John, there's, from me being on that that road allowance, it does appear to be a marked fire route. I don't know if that changes anything. I think that whatever we do on the DLD tour, which is Fire Route 3, as far as I can tell, this section going to Glamorgan is also considered Fire Route 3. So I'm not sure if there would be any difference there in terms of signage. But I guess what you're saying is that we couldn't put up signs indicating certain uses not being allowed. The only other thing I wanted to mention, and I know you know this, just for everyone else's benefit, is that it doesn't seem to need any work at all. It's not like we need to build a new trail there. It's just a matter of just directing people on an existing fire road.
Okay.
May I respond?
Yeah, absolutely.
And so, yeah, I agree with Dave. I like when I'm doing my trail inspections, I just get Barb to drop me off at Glamorgan, and I walk up and straight through, and then she picks me up in Millbrook or wherever. And like it's logical to be using it. I'm sure there are people who are using it both. There's people who seem to park up at, I wouldn't drive up there, but there seem to be people who drive up to the end of DL, and then they either bike or walk into either Ganaraska or our trails. Anyway, I think to Dave is right. Like it's basically a fire route, but I do know there are well, just the same as there are people who use the fire route 3 at the other end to access their farms. I'm just not sure about the legality of the off-road vehicles using that part of Ganaraska. I always assumed that it was legal for them to use that part, and so you certainly see signs of off-road vehicles in there. So that was, it seems like a great idea to recognize the fact that it's a good linkage, and then it's just a question of how we deal with it. And I think it was originally expected that we would eventually do that, but we were able to link up with the Ganaraska, which was the major goal when we did that extension. So I think it's a good idea to make it a little more obvious that it accesses our trails, and how we do that, I think, is the question.
Okay. Any other comments or thoughts? Okay, so Mr. Follis, is this something we would like to add to the agenda for next month?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Maybe we'd put it on or maybe we should just ask staff whether they have any thoughts on what we could or couldn't do as far as as signage or whatever else, because it like that part of it, if it's something simple that we can just add it to the trail and treat it as a regular trail, then that would be fine with me. If it's a little more complicated, then I'd prefer to find it out before we start doing something and have to back up on it. That's basically where I am now.
I'm just wondering if entering from the Glamorgan side, where there's already a history of farm vehicle and ATV use, is there a point approaching our trails where there are natural impediments to motorized vehicles, or does it carry right through all the way to Dial? I haven't been out there in so long, I can't remember what the transition point looks like topographically or in terms of what kind of vegetation is there that would prevent people from getting onto our trails with motorized vehicles.
Dave or I could probably answer that question. There is a good choke point where our current sign, or at least my perception is, there's a choke point at where our trail links up to the Ganaraska trails. The Ganaraska trails are quite a bit wide. I would say they're more wide open than what ours are. And Dave, I'd be interested in hearing how you respond to that, but that's my perception of it.
Well, maybe it's not worth our while to talk about ORV use on trails that don't yet exist. So perhaps we should table this for later discussion.
Yeah, and I think, Rob, like, to me, it's not really on the agenda, and staff haven't done any prep work to provide any clarity. Like, if John wants to move, it's in the work plan as a motion, but it's still not on as one of the immediate projects to be done. But it doesn't sound like there's much in the way of a project really to occur. So I kind of don't really know, like, from a recognition of it as a part of our trail, maybe it's not necessary, or maybe we're still talking about updating mastheads. We haven't crossed that bridge yet. And I'm kind of leery of the need to make that happen sooner than later. And, the continuing expansion, not that there's anything wrong with expanding, but I think we're really talking about something that's not really on the agenda to be discussed, and staff haven't, prepared for it for this meeting. So I think if we want to bring it forward with any urgency, we should put it on a future agenda and allow staff the time to do any sort of that due diligence, because I think we're all somewhat familiar with exactly what's the area at least, and I've been on Glamorgan a million times, but I'm not exactly clear in my mind as to where exactly we're talking about and what would be involved. So I think in order to actually talk about it, we need to actually have it on an agenda and have some stuff in front of us, I think.
Mr. Chairman, may I respond to that?
Please.
So I did ask to have it on the agenda, and it is referenced in the minutes that it would be. And I asked Yvette about it, and she said it could come up under the work plan because it is referenced in the work plan. When I talked to her last, the idea was to bring it up and talk about it at an upcoming meeting. But if we go back to what the work plan said there, if we could scroll up to what the work plan was, she has talked to Kyle. Yeah, there we go. John Follis and staff to work with Kyle on the possibilities of restrictions. And basically, when they looked at it, they're like, it's a road that you can walk in, it links to our trail. And so there wasn't that restriction. And then when we were talking today, I said about the off-road vehicles, and she said, we might have to look into that. And so that's why I'm asking perhaps that we refer that back to staff and see whether it's any different than what we had talked about before.
Okay. So I just see that Ms. Hurley had to leave. So she's
Through
not
you,
here.
Chair. I apologize. Through you, Chair. That was the intention for the discussion. If the committee finds it acceptable, I can make the updates that John Follis has provided with us today, and then we'll continue to carry it forward under the workday discussion. And if it does need to become its own agenda item, then we can follow that process at that time. Is the committee okay with that?
Yeah, John, how do you feel about that?
Is it fair to ask Yvette to comment on whether, like, given those thoughts about the off-road vehicles and that sort of thing, and the signage, I guess that's the question of what kind of, part of the reason for doing it now rather than later is if it's going to be part of the trail system, then I would say it should be on the updated signage. So it'd be nice to get it cleared up if it's going to be there. And if it's not going to be there, then probably all it would need would be a little sign that's, or, reasonably sized sign that says to Ganaraska Transit and the Millbrook Valley Trails. But we could get, depending on how staff react to it and to this new thought, then it's probably not that big a deal to bring it back to the next meeting if they can get a comment by then.
I can absolutely take that back to staff and see if we have, just take a look at our sign bylaw and anything that might apply. I'll bring that forward to Ms. Hurley after this meeting, and also our Director of Public Works, Mr. Hancock, and just see if they have any comments. I can include that if they do. Either way, I can include it in the update that comes forward to the next meeting.
That'll be great by me. Thank you.
That's great. Thank you.
Can I comment there, Rob? Mr.
Sure.
Chair. Just to add to maybe John and Maureen's comments there, it's my understanding that that east of Glamorgan there is Central Forest, which is non-motorized from the Ganaraska's perspective, and I don't believe they use or I don't believe they want motorized traffic coming along, entering the forest at all through along the unopened road allowance there. So, staff would have to chat with them, I guess, to confirm that. But they have closed off, so that fire route comes in, and our trail branches off at an elbow on that road. The natural direction would be to keep going on our trail, or the way it would appear on a GPS map would look like a straight line. But if you're driving on the road, you would naturally take a right turn there, and our trail, which would not be onto our trail. So I don't think any motorized traffic would mistakenly just continue onto our trail from that route. But the only concern with if this were to come up that a no motorized traffic sign was, or no motorized use sign was coming up, is that there are property owners to the north there. So just noting that.
Okay, great. All right, so we'll move that to another meeting as per Carly's suggestion. Okay, and just going back to 8.3.1, the discussion around Hope Mill. So I think we can make the determination after workday on May 7th. If we need to potentially purchase more materials from Hope Mill this summer. We can make that determination either a May or June meeting. They haven't even started cutting yet. So we've certainly got lots of time, and we have more than enough material to be able to tackle what time and resources will permit us to on May the 7th. So I'm not worried about that. 8.4, Carly, the MVT meeting, May meeting date, was that just a confirmation of May 7th or what?
Through you, Chair, I have the next meeting date as May 23rd. However, that is the statutory holiday, so the
Oh, I see.
township offices are closed. So we really would just be looking for a motion from the committee to change that meeting date.
To the 30th or whatever we think.
Whichever the committee decides.
Okay,
I would
somebody want to make that
recommend-
motion?
I would recommend May 30th through you, Chair Jackson, just to stay with the momentum of the Monday nights, if that's okay.
Okay, does somebody want to make that motion?
I'll make that motion, Mr. Chair.
Okay, anybody know a second?
I'll second it.
Maureen, all in favor?
Yes,
Mhm.
Yep.
Okay, so just note the 30th. I'm sure it'll be on the minutes when they get distributed, but if everybody wants to mark that on their calendar. Okay, Maureen, do you want to talk about your topic now?
Sure. I met up with Riley and Schmidt, a young project manager for the invasive species program ambassador system that the Ontario Federation of Anglers and Hunters is running. She had never been on the trails before here and really enjoyed our time on them. What the ambassador program is a group of high school, college, and university students who are committing to 6 weeks from late April through May to mid-June to come out into Peterborough County, a variety of locations, hold workshops similar to what the province of Ontario Invasive Species Program used to do here in the community meeting room in the old arena. So that would be sort of like information sessions for new property owners and farm property owners who are experiencing a lot of invasion. But also they want to do work similar to what the junior rangers used to do and send the folks out with a supervisor in to actually cull. So they're not permitted to do things like buckthorn culling. They can't use heavy tools or anything like that. But they certainly would be able to help with DSB culling, which would be my main interest. We also have a small area that at the Baxter Creek entrance of periwinkle, a domestic plant that is taken off into our into a small area of about 10 feet by 10 feet by the trailhead at Baxter Creek on the mill pond. So that would be something else we could work on. Now, the thing is, though, that the ambassadors themselves choose the projects that they would like to do, and they aren't available to do any of the initial survey work. So she's having to sell the project to them. So I don't know yet whether we'll be chosen, but she says that if it were she choosing, she would definitely like to work with us, because she said the opportunity here to teach and learn and do something service providing is very high. So I hope it works out for us. The date that they're talking about is Saturday, June 11th, with the following 2 Saturdays as possibilities as well. So I'd need to talk to the mountain bike trail folks about their use of the trails on that day. While on that subject, by the way, I would just ask that when it does come time to build the beginner trail, if you would not take down all of my flash tape markings for dog strangling vine until we've actually addressed it for the year. That would be helpful, because it's really hard to see the patches in that area until as soon as things start leafing out. I can't see, I have to re-walk the whole thing, and it's really labor intensive. So if you could leave as much of the flash tape up, it sort of looks like maple syrup lines, maple sap lines in there.
I've seen it.
Whatever's already fallen, just move it out of the way. But if you could just leave it at least at the where it's tied to the tree, and then it would be make it a lot easier for me to find those areas when we do have help. I think that's all. I really looking forward to working with her. She, if it happens, she's very much alike in spirit and motivation to Mary Elizabeth, who worked with us before. There seems to be a thing about hyphenated names for young people who want to work in the woods. So we were out for about an hour and a half together, and it was a great day for it. So she was glad to get out of the office. And that's it for that.
Okay, thank you very much. Does anybody have any questions or comments? Okay, wonderful, thank you. Does anybody have anything that they would like to add for our May 30th meeting? As per agenda item 8.5. No. Okay. Next meeting date and trail report is Maureen and Dave.
Okay.
Can I have a motion for adjournment?
I can make
So
that motion.
Oh.
Or second it.
Mr. D'Agostino, seconded by Mr. Fallis. All in favor?
Yes.
Yeah.
Great. All right. Thanks very much, everybody. We will see you, most of you, hopefully, Saturday, May 7th at the end of Distillery Street. Ready to go. If anybody has any issues or questions, or something comes up about something that needs to be repaired, text me or email me. I'll add it to the list and we'll tackle it on that day. Sound good?
Mhm.
Yep.
All right. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.